Hi everyone, welcome to Ashoka Online Academy. So I'm going to teach you geography, and this course will be helpful for all TSPSC competitive exams. Okay. I'm Ankit Reddy. I have my post-graduation degree in geography and I have 4 years of teaching experience for both UPSC and TSPSC aspirants. So today we will discuss how to prepare geography for TSPSC exams. Okay, so first of all, for any competitive exam, before starting your preparation, you should get the syllabus copy of that particular examination, because every subject is like ocean, right? For example, in geography you have geographical thought, physical geography, oceanography, climatology. All those topics are not important for your TSPSC examinations. Only topics like Indian geography, Telangana geography are important for your TSP examinations. So for that, you should first get hold of the syllabus of that examination, right? And next, you should check the previous year question papers of that examination. Why you should check the previous year question papers? So when you check the previous year question paper, you can understand the depth of the questions, important areas from which they are asking questions, the repeated questions. So these previous year question papers will help you to understand the depth and the important areas for the examinations. Okay, and the third thing you have to do is you have to shortlist the books that are available in the market. You have to choose the best books, the limited books, and you have to revise it for 20 times. Okay, then the fourth thing, you have to concentrate on the current affairs or the current developments related to that subject. For example, in the context of geography, central government and state government will be releasing certain reports and indexes related to the population of the country or the state or the forest cover, development in the forest cover areas. So such kind of current affairs, you have to make note of those current affairs and link with your subject which is there in your syllabus part. Okay, then you have to maintain notes. So along with your coaching notes, you should maintain your own personal notes. So you have to note down your gist of your standard books. So why making personal notes is important? Because the day before the examination or the 1 week before the examination, you cannot go back to your books, right? So your notes will help as the synopsis of your notes. So they'll help in quick revision. Okay, then for the subject like geography, visualization is important, right? For example, in geography you get map based questions. So when you have clear cut understanding regarding the maps, both the state map and the national map, you can easily solve the questions. Okay, and for this concepts like monsoons, wind system, mountains, so visualization, that means watching the videos related to those concepts in YouTube, the animated videos will help you to understand the topics like monsoons, distribution of rainfall, forest cover, mountain ranges, passes in the country. So this will help you. Then last thing is revision. Okay, for any subject, revision is must, because you tend to forget the concepts, facts. Okay, and how the practice is the best way to revise. For example, if you are preparing for MCQs, for prelims, you should concentrate on MCQs. If you are practicing, if you are preparing for mains type of examination, you have to practice writing question and answers. Okay. So these are the 7 things you have to keep in mind while preparing for any exam. Okay, syllabus, previous year question papers, shortlisting the books, focusing on current affairs related to the syllabus, then maintaining your own personal notes, so that it will help you for the quick revision and taking help of the Atlas YouTube videos, the animated YouTube videos, to understand the concepts in a better way, then practicing the topics by solving the questions available in the internet and the material that is available in the market. Okay, so this is about the preparation related to the geography. Okay, then what type of questions you get in TSPSC examinations? Type of questions. Okay, so basically for the preliminary examinations and for the group 2, group 3, group 4 examinations, most of the questions are in MCQ format, right? MCQ format, right? So what type of questions you get in the examination? First is your conceptual questions. You get 4 types of questions: conceptual questions, factual questions, current affairs based questions, and map based questions. So for each type of question, I'll give some questions which are the previous year questions. Okay. Conceptual questions. See, so the example here is about the sex ratio. Okay, so it's a populated demographic related question. So if you don't know what is sex ratio, you cannot attempt this question, right? So you should know what is sex ratio, its definition. Okay, so this topic is related to the demography of India, the definition of sex ratio. So in order to solve this question, you need to have a understanding regarding the concept, the demographic concepts. Okay, so this answer for this question is the sex ratio means the number of females per 1000 males. Okay, right. The next type of question is your factual question. See, in ancient period, which one of the following rivers was called as Telivaha? Okay, so the answer is Godavari. So it is purely a factual question. Okay, no concept is related to this. So you'll get such type of questions, the factual questions. Then the current affairs based questions. So you will not get the current affairs based questions from your standard books. Instead, they will come from newspaper, and they will connect these current events with this static part of your subject. For example, the socio-economic outlook. Okay, so the state government and the central government will be releasing reports, okay, related to agriculture, related to population, related to forest. So you should make note of those reports, indexes, key points, right? Then the last type of question is map based questions. Map based questions. In order to solve these questions, you should have clear cut understanding regarding the maps. For example, Telangana state shares borders with which of the following states? Okay, so if you have clear cut understand regarding the map, if you have clear cut view regarding the map, then you can easily answer the questions, right? What is the states? Maharashtra, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh. So you can easily solve this question. So what is the answer? Fourth one is the answer, right? Fourth one is the answer. Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. So these are the 4 types of questions you get in the examination. What are they? Conceptual questions, factual questions, current affairs based and map based questions. So in the state examinations, most of the questions are related to the factual questions. Most of the questions you get is from this factual, then map based and current affairs. the amount of contextual questions you get in the examination is very less. Most of the questions are factual, current affairs and map based questions. Okay. So today we'll start Indian geography. So this, for in any examination for prelims, they will be giving the syllabus that world, India and Telangana geography. So this is the syllabus for geography, right? So first we will start with Indian geography. We'll start our classes with Indian geography. So before getting into the subject, we'll try to look at the syllabus, the Indian geography syllabus for TSPSC examinations. Okay, so I have consolidated all the syllabus for group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 examinations and consolidated them into 14 chapters. Okay, right. So the first chapter is the location and physical setting of India. Location and physical setting of India. So in this chapter we have to focus on the areas like location of India, where India is located, what is its latitudinal, longitudinal extent, its neighboring countries, So these are the areas you need to focus in this chapter. Okay. Next, the physiographic divisions of India. Okay. So India can be divided into 5 types, 5 broad classifications of the physiographic divisions like plains, plateaus, mountains, islands, coastal plains. Okay, so you should have idea regarding this. What are plains, what are plateaus, what is their percentage in Indian landmass and why they are important for. Okay, for example, in India, Chota Nagpur plateau is important for minerals. Himalayan region is famous for tourism and plains are famous for agriculture. So you should focus on such kind of aspects. Okay, then the third chapter, climate of India. What type of climate does India experiences? Which region India comes under? What are monsoons? Okay, what are southwest monsoon? What are northeast monsoons? How they are formed? And what amount of rainfall we get from the southwest monsoon, rainfall distribution in the country and the different seasons in the country. Okay, so and wind system. So you have to focus on these aspects in the climate of India chapter. Then the fourth chapter deals with the river system and river valley projects in India. So the Indian river system can be classified into 2 types, that is the Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. You have to differentiate what are Himalayan rivers, what are peninsular rivers, what is the difference between them, what are the major Himalayan rivers, what are the major peninsular rivers, in which direction they flow, where they move to, where they mixes with, is it the river mixes with Arabian Sea or with the Bay of Bengal Sea, what is the meeting point, what is the originating point of these rivers, and the important river valley projects that are constructed on this river. Okay, some of the projects are important for hydroelectricity, some of the projects are important for irrigation. So we should know about this and this rivers and the important river valley projects on that rivers and the important places, riverbank cities. Okay, right. Then the 5th chapter, that is the natural vegetation and wildlife of India. So in this chapter you have to focus on the types of forests that are available in India, what are the trees that are grown in that region, the percentage of forest in India, okay, and the distribution of forests in the states, which state has the largest forest cover, which state has the smallest forest cover, and the conservation of wildlife, like what are national parks, what are biosphere reserves, okay, what are wildlife sanctuaries, okay, difference between them, and which animal is famous for which national park, which elements are under extinction. So you have to focus on these aspects in this chapter. Then the 6th chapter is the soils of India. So in this chapter you have to focus on the types of soils, where you get different type of soils, what is the chemical composition of the soil, and what crops are suitable for this type of soil. For example, black soil is suitable for the cultivation of cotton. Similarly, alluvial soils is suitable for the cultivation of rice. So each type of soil has its own suitable crops, and they are covered in different region. For example, black cotton soil is covered in the Deccan Plateau region. Okay, so you have to focus on these areas. Then you have to also concentrate on the current event, that is your what is soil erosion, what is soil conservation, what are the soil conservation methods. Okay, you have to focus on the modern agriculture technique as well related to soil conservation. Then the 7th chapter is about the major minerals and their distribution. So in this chapter you have to focus on what are the major minerals of India and where they are located. For example, coal, iron ore. Okay, these are the important minerals of India and their location, where they are located. Which place is famous for what? For example, your Kothagudem, Sringareni areas are known for coal reserves, right? Or your Chotanagpur plateau is known for iron ore and as well as coal. Okay, so likewise. Then the energy resources. So in this chapter you have to focus on the classification of energy resources, that is renewable resources, non-renewable resources, conventional type of resources, non-conventional resources, what are renewable sources, what are non-renewable sources. Okay, which type of energy comes under which type of energy resource. For example, solar power comes under renewable source, right? Thermal power comes under non-renewable source. Okay, so important energy resources, their percentage, their contribution to the energy resources of the country. Okay, then 9th chapter is agriculture and irrigation of India, right? So in this chapter you have to try to read about the types of agriculture, contribution of agriculture to the Indian economy, types of agriculture like shifting agriculture, mixed agriculture. Okay, then types of crops, commercial crops, food crops, where they are grown, what are their climatic conditions, what type of soils are suitable for that particular crop. Okay, then you have to also focus on irrigation, what are the types of irrigation, canal irrigation, tank irrigation, okay, well irrigation, which type of irrigation is concentrated on which areas, why they are concentrated. So these areas has to be covered under agriculture and irrigation. Okay, then the 10th chapter, industries of India. Okay, classification of industries, agro based industries, mineral based industries. Okay, which areas are known for which industries. For example, Sirpur Kaganagar in Telangana is famous for paper factories, right? So likewise, each region in India is famous for one particular industries. For example, Mumbai, Surat area is known for cotton textile industries. Okay, so you have to list out the industrial corridors, industrial regions, and which region is for what type of industry. Okay, then the 11th chapter, transportation. So in this chapter we have to focus on the means of transportation, road, rail, air and waterways. Okay, you have to focus on inland water as well, and the seaports in the country, national highways, inland waterways, highways and your seaports and important railway networks. Okay, and recent developments related to that. Okay, then the 12th chapter, population of India. So in this chapter you have to focus on 2011 census, 2021 census. Okay, demographic characteristics like sex ratio, infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate. Okay, population density, life expectancy rate, literacy rate. Okay, and you have to compare 2011 and 2021. Okay, they may ask you they may ask you questions by comparing 2011 and 2021 census as well. Okay, what is demographic dividend, population pyramid? You have to cover all these topics in population of India. Then the 13th chapter is urbanization. What is urbanization? What is according to census, what is a town? What is an urban center? What is a statutory town? What are the problems of urbanization and what are the recent schemes related to urbanization? Okay, then the last chapter is related to disaster management, national hazards, So you have to focus on floods, which areas are prone for floods, what are floods, earthquakes, why earthquakes occur, which regions are earthquake prone regions, droughts, what are droughts, then landslides, what are landslides, where do they occur, why they occur, and their effects. So you have to focus on these 14 chapters to get a hold on Indian geography. Okay, so first today we'll start with the first chapter of your syllabus, that is location and physical setting of India. Okay. So before getting into this chapter, we'll try to understand some basics concepts of geography, like what is geography, who is the father of geography, okay, what is the meaning of geography. So you may get questions in the prelims related to this. Okay. So what is geography? In simple words, it can be said that geography is description of earth. Geography is nothing but description of earth. Okay. So who coined the geography term first? Okay. So the geography term was coined by Eratosthenes. Eratosthenes, he is a Greek scholar, he is a good scholar. So geography term was first coined by Eratosthenes. He was a Greek scholar. Okay, belonged to 3rd century BC. Okay, and from where did this geography word derived from? It's derived from Greek language. It derived from Greek language from two terms, that is geo and graphos. Geo means earth, grapho means description. Okay, so geography term derived from Greek words, that is geo and graphos. Geo means earth and graphos means description. So if you put together, they mean that description of earth. Geography is nothing but it is description of earth. And Eratosthenes is called as the father of geography. Eratosthenes is called as father of geography for coining the term geography, and he was the first person to calculate the circumference of the earth. He was the first person to calculate the circumference of the earth. So once again I am repeating this. What is geography? Geography is nothing but it is the description of earth. Okay, who coined the term geography first? It was Eratosthenes. He was a Greek scholar. Okay, from which language that geography word derived from? Greek word. It derived from the Greek word, two Greek words, that is geo and graphos, which means earth's description. Okay, so Eratosthenes is called as the father of geography, and he was the first person to coin the geography term, and he was also the first person to calculate the circumference of the earth. Okay, this is some basic concepts related to geography. Okay, right. Now we will move to the first chapter of Indian geography, that is location and physical setting of India. Location and physical setting of India. So first subtopic, where is India located in the world? Where is India located in the world? So simple topic. India is located in Asia continent. India is located in Asia continent. Okay. In which part of Asia? South Asia. So India is located in South Asia. So India is part of Asia continent and it is located in South Asia. Okay. It is located in South Asia. It is located in South Asia. Okay. In which hemisphere does India is located? In which hemisphere India is located? India is located in, see, you know that the basic concept of latitudes, and longitudes, right? So you know that latitudes are the lines drawn parallel to equator. Yes or no? They are imaginary lines. The imaginary lines drawn parallel to the equator are called latitudes, right? So what is equator? Equator is also a latitude. 0 degree latitude is called equator. 0 degree latitude is called equator. So this is the imaginary line which divides the earth into two equal parts. Okay. Equator, which is the 0 degree latitude, divides the earth into two equal parts, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay, and the lines drawn parallel to the equator, are called latitudes. The lines drawn parallel to the equator are called latitudes. Okay. Okay, so equator is a 0 degree latitude which divides the earth into two equal hemispheres, that is northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay, what are the important latitudes? The important latitudes are zero degree latitude is called equator. 23.5 degree north latitude is called Tropic of Cancer. Then 23.5 degree north latitude, the south latitude is called as Tropic of Capricorn. Then the 66.5 degree north latitude is called Arctic Circle, and the 90 degree latitude is called North Pole, and the 66.5 degree south latitude is called Antarctic Circle, and 90 degree south latitude is called the South Pole. Okay, these are the important latitude: 0 degree equator, 23.5 degree north latitude, that is Tropic of Cancer, 66.5 degree north latitude, that is called Arctic Circle, and 90 degree pole, North Pole. Then the 23.5 degree south latitude, that is Tropic of Cancer. Then 66.5 degree south latitude, that is Antarctic Circle, and the 90 degree south latitude, that is South Pole. These are the important latitudes. So there are 90 latitudes in the north and 90 latitudes in the south. So there are 180 latitudes. There are total 180 latitudes, 90 in the north, 90 in the south. Okay. And 0 degree latitude is equator, that divides the earth into two equal hemisphere. Okay. So India is located in the northern hemisphere. Why? Because India is located towards the north of the equator. So the region north of the equator is called northern hemisphere, and the region the south of the equator is called southern hemisphere. So India is located in the northern hemisphere because its position is towards the north of equator. Okay, clear? Clear? So equator, 0 degree latitude is called equator, 23.5 degree latitude is called Tropic of Cancer, 66.5 degree north latitude is called Arctic Circle, and 90 degree north latitude is called North Pole. Okay, 23.5 degree south latitude is called Tropic of Capricorn, and 66.5 degree Antarctic Circle is 67° south latitude is called the Antarctic Circle, and the 90° south latitude is called the South Pole. So these are the important latitudes, and if you see, these latitudes are parallel to the equator, and remember, latitudes never meet. Okay, so India is located towards the north of the equator. That's why India is located in the northern hemisphere. That's why we say India is located in the northern hemisphere. I hope this is clear for you. Then, so the region between the 23.5 north latitude, that is Tropic of Cancer, and 23.5 south latitude, that is Tropic of Cancer. The region between these two tropic latitudes is called as tropical zone. The region between these two latitude is called as tropical zone. And if you see here, India is located north of equator, and the majority part of India comes under this tropical zone. Okay, so India is located north of this equator, so that is located in northern hemisphere. We say it is located in northern hemisphere, and the 23.5 passes through almost to the center of the India. So most of the part in India is under tropical zone. Remember this, okay? You may get a question. In which part of climatic zone does India is located? Tropical, temperate, polar, Mediterranean. So the answer, your answer should be tropical. In which hemisphere does India located? North, south, both or none of the above? Answer should be northern hemisphere. Okay. Then, so the lines drawn parallel to the equator are called as latitudes, right? Both latitudes and longitudes are imaginary lines. They don't really exist. So we draw them on the globe for our understanding. So latitude help us to understand the climatic region of that area. Okay. Then coming to longitudes. So longitudes are nothing but the imaginary lines drawn from pole to pole. The imaginary lines drawn from pole to pole are called as longitudes. Okay. The imaginary lines drawn from pole to pole are called as longitudes. Okay. So there are 180 longitudes in the west and 180 longitudes in the east. So 0° longitude, remember this point, 0° longitude passes through a place called Greenwich, passes through a place called Greenwich in London. Okay, 0° longitude passes through a place called Greenwich in London. So the places, the longitudes which are located to the east of this Greenwich or 0° longitude is called as eastern longitudes, and the longitudes which are located towards the west of this Greenwich is called as the western longitudes. So total there are 360 longitudes, remember this. And coming to latitudes, how many they are? They are 90 in the north and 90 in the south. So total latitudes are 180, longitudes are 360. So don't confuse. Okay. So latitudes help us to understand the climatic region of that area, whereas longitudes help us to understand the time zones of that region. Okay. So both latitudes and longitudes forms grids like this. Okay, latitudes and longitudes forms grids. So both latitudes individually help us to understand the climate of that region. Longitudes individually help us to understand the time zone of that region. Both latitudes and longitudes combinedly help us to identify the location of the region. Keep this in mind. Okay, latitudes and longitudes combinedly help us to understand the location of the region. Okay. Right. So India is located towards the north of equator, right? So India is located towards the north of the equator. So that's why we say India is located in the northern hemisphere. Similarly, the 0 degree longitude, which passes through a place called Greenwich in London, with 0 degree longitude which passes through a place called Greenwich in London, is located west of India. That means 0 degree longitudes, India is located towards the east of this 0 degree longitude. Okay, so this 0 degree longitude and the 180 degree longitude forms a circle, and this circle divides the earth into two equal hemispheres, that is eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere. So the 0 degree longitude and the 180 degree longitude forms a great circle, and it divides the earth into two hemispheres, that is eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. Okay, equator divides the earth into two hemispheres, that is northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, whereas 0 degree longitude divides the earth into western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. So if you look at the location of India, it is located in northeastern hemisphere. India is located in northeastern hemisphere. It is located in both northern hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere. So continent wise, India is located in the Asia. And which part of Asia? South Asia. And if they ask you in which hemisphere in India is located, in the options, if it is A, north hemisphere, B, east hemisphere, C, both A and B, D, none of the above. Your answer should be both in the north hemisphere and eastern hemisphere, because India is located in the northeastern hemisphere. Okay, clear? Right. So this is about the location of India. India is located in the Asia and in southern part of Asia, and it is located in the northeastern hemisphere. Okay. Now let us look at the north, south, east, west of the location of India. So India, in the north part of India is covered by Himalayas. Okay, so the north part of India is bounded by Himalayas in the north. Okay, and the southeast part of India is bounded by Bay of Bengal. Southwest part of India is bounded by Arabian Sea, and the south part of India is bounded by Indian Ocean. Once again I am repeating this, the north part of India is bounded by the lofty Himalayan mountains. Southeast part of India is bounded by Bay of Bengal. Southwest part is bounded by Arabian Sea, and the south part of India is bounded by Indian Ocean. Okay, and if you look at this map, we can say that the southern part of India is a peninsula. Southern part of India is a peninsula. Now, what is a peninsula? What is a peninsula? Peninsula is a landmass. Peninsula is a landmass covered by water on three sides, and land on one side. Peninsula is a landmass covered by water on three sides and landmass on one side. So that's why we call India as a peninsula country. India is a peninsula. The southern part of India is a peninsula because it is covered by water on the three sides. On the western part, the Indian peninsula is covered by Arabian Sea. In south, it is covered by Indian Ocean, and on the eastern part, it is covered by West Bengal. Okay. So India is a peninsula country. It is bounded by Himalayas on the north, Arabian Sea on the southwest, Indian Ocean on the south, and the Bay of Bengal on the southeast. Okay, so where is India located in the world? India is positioned on the Indian subcontinent in South Asia and is located in both eastern and northern hemispheres. Okay, and India is bounded by the lofty Himalayas in the north, Arabian Sea in the west, Bay of Bengal in the east, and the Indian Ocean in the south. I hope this is clear with you. Now we will look at the extreme points of India. That is the extreme points of India. What is the northernmost extreme point? What is the southernmost extreme point? What is the westernmost extreme point? And what is the easternmost extreme point? So first we will start with the northernmost point in India. Okay. See, actually the northernmost point in India is Kilik Pass, which is located in the Karakoram mountain ranges. Okay. What is it? It is the Kilik Pass. It is located in the Karakoram range region. Okay. But this Karakoram range is part of POK, that is the Pak occupied Kashmir. Okay. So that's why we don't consider Kilik Pass as the northernmost point of India. Instead, we take India Col. India Col in Ladakh is considered as the northernmost point of India. What is the northernmost point of India? It is India Col. Which union territory is located in? Ladakh. Okay, Ladakh was erstwhile located in Jammu and Kashmir state, but Jammu and Kashmir state was divided into two union territories, Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh. Now this India Col, the northernmost point of India, is located in which state, which union territory? Ladakh. Okay, next, easternmost point. Okay, the easternmost point is located in the tiny town of Kibitu in Arunachal Pradesh. The easternmost point of India is Kibitu. Okay, Kibitu, which is located in Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is the easternmost state of India, and what is that place? Kibitu is the easternmost place of India. Then, which is the westernmost point of India? The westernmost point of India is Gaurmoti. It is located in Kutch district of Gujarat. So you know that the westernmost state of India is Gujarat, right? And the westernmost point in India is Gaurmoti, located in Kutch district of Gujarat. So this is the place. Okay, this is Kutch. And this is the place where Gaurmoti is located. Okay, then next, what is the southernmost point of India? The southernmost point of India is Indira Point. It is also called as the Pygmalion Point. The southernmost point of India is Indira Point, located in Andaman Nicobar Islands. It is located in the Andaman Nicobar Islands. To be specific, it is located in the Great Nicobar Islands of Andaman Nicobar Islands. It is located in, see, the southernmost point of India is located in the Andaman Nicobar group of islands. To be specific, it is located in the Great Nicobar Island. Okay, Great Nicobar Island of the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, So once again I am repeating this. The northernmost point is located in Ladakh, that is India Col, which is located in the Union Territory of Ladakh. Easternmost point of India is located in Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is the easternmost state. And the place name is Kibitu. Kibitu is the easternmost point of India. Okay, then which is the westernmost point of India? Gaurmoti. It is located in the state of Gujarat. Gujarat is the westernmost state of India. Okay, so this Gaurmoti is a place which is located in Kutch district of Gujarat. Then what is the southernmost point in the Indian mainland? See, Indian mainland does not include Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep. Okay, India's a country includes Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep, but in Indian mainland, Kanyakumari is the southernmost point. In Indian mainland, Kanyakumari is the southernmost point. But if you include the Andaman Nicobar Islands, a place called Indra Point located in Great Nicobar Island is the southernmost point of India. So these are the 4 extreme points in India. India Col in the north, Kibitu village in the east, Gaurmoti in the west, and the Indra Point in Great Nicobar Islands. This Indra Point is also called as the Pygmalion Point. Remember. Okay. Okay. Coming to the highest peak in India. Which is the highest peak in India? So the highest peak in India is K2, or it is also called as Mount Godwin Austen. Okay, so the highest point in India is K2, but unfortunately this K2, which is located at the 8,600 meters, 611 meters, this K2 is in the Karakoram range, and this Karakoram range part is under POK, Pak Occupied Kashmir. So that's why we don't consider K2. Some books consider K2 as the highest peak in India, but it is in POK. So if there is K2 in the options, you should go for K2. K2 is the highest peak in India. If there is no K2 in the option, then we have to choose Kanchenjunga, which is located in Sikkim. Okay, Kanchenjunga in Sikkim. Clear? Yeah. And which is the lowest point in India? Kuttanad. Kuttanad in the state of Kerala is the lowest point in India. Kuttanad in Kerala is the lowest point in India. What is the highest point in India? It is K2, but actually it is located in POK. So in the options, if you don't find K2, then it should be Kanchenjunga. Clear? Then, so Kilik Park in the north, Kibitu in the east, Gaurmoti in the west, and Indra Point in the south. So highest peak of India is K2 or Mount Austen. It is located at 8,611 meters. And most of you have confusion that Mount Everest is part of Himalayas, but it is not in India. It is located in Nepal, India's bordering state, that is Nepal. Okay, and the lowest point in India is Kuttanad, located in Kerala. Right, at minus 2.2 below sea level. Right. Now, come to the geographical extent of India. Geographical extent of India. So they may ask you what is the latitudinal extent of India or the longitudinal extent of India. So in the options, they will give the latitudinal extent of India, and sometimes they will give both latitude and longitudinal extent, sometimes only latitudinal extent of India. So we know that just now we have seen that India is located in northeastern hemisphere, right? Northeastern hemisphere, that is, it is north of 0 degree equator and east of 0 degree longitudes. Okay, that means India is located in the eastern longitudes and northern latitudes. Okay, in the northern latitude region and the eastern longitude region, right? So what is the latitudinal and longitudinal extent of India? So India, first we will see the latitudinal extent of India. So the northernmost latitude of India is 37 degrees 6 minutes. 37 degrees 6 minutes is the northernmost point of India. 37 degrees 6 minutes is the northernmost point of India. And what is the southernmost point of India? If you consider the mainland, that means excluding the islands, 8 degrees 4 minutes is the southernmost latitude of India. 8 degrees 4 minutes north latitude is the southernmost latitude of India, if you consider only the mainland. But if you consider the Indira point, or the southernmost tip of India, the southernmost island of India, then it is 6 degrees 45 minutes. Okay, so what is the northernmost point of India? That is the 37 degrees 6 minutes north latitude is the northernmost latitude of India. And what is the southernmost latitude of India? If you consider the mainland, it is 8 degrees 4 minutes. If you include the islands, the southernmost island latitude is 6 degrees 45 minutes. So this place is near to equator. The Andaman Nicobar Islands are near to equator. Okay, so this is the latitudinal extent of India, 37 degrees 6 minutes north and 8 degrees 4 minutes south. This is the latitudinal extent of India. Okay, now what is the longitudinal extent of India? Nine 68 degrees it is 7 minutes eastern longitude. Okay, 68 degrees 7 minutes eastern longitude is the easternmost longitude of India. Okay, and what is the easternmost longitude of India? 97 degrees 25 minutes is the eastern longitude. 68 degrees 7 minutes is the western longitude. Okay, both are eastern, don't confuse in the examination. Both the longitudes are located in eastern hemisphere, that's why both longitudes are located in the eastern hemisphere, that's why we use the eastern longitudes. Similarly, for the latitude also we use the term north, 37 degrees 8 minutes north and 8 degrees 4 minutes north, because both the latitudes are located in the northern hemisphere. Okay, so 68 degrees 7 minutes is the westernmost longitude of India and 97 degrees 25 minutes is the easternmost longitude of India. So this is the longitudinal extent of India and this is the latitudinal extent of India. Okay, and one more point here is the 23.5 degree north latitude, 23.5 degree north latitude, 23.5 degree north latitude passes through India. 23.5 degree north latitude, 23.5 degree north latitude, that is Tropic of Cancer passes through India. So in the examination they may give you this question: which of the following latitudes passes through India? Which of the following important latitudes passes through India. So your answer should be Tropic of Cancer. So which latitude passes through India? It is Tropic of Cancer. So other than the Tropic of Cancer, which latitude is near to India? Which important latitude is near to India? Equator. Only one latitude, important latitude passes through India, that is Tropic of Cancer. Equator is near to India, but equator does not pass through India. Okay. Remember this, only Tropic of Cancer, important latitude, passes through India. Equator does not pass through India, but it is near to India. And which landmass of India is near to equator? That is the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Clear? Yes. So this is about the latitudinal and longitudinal extent of India. 37 degrees 6 minutes north, 8 degrees 4 minutes south. Okay. 8 degrees 4 minutes north to 37 degree 6 minutes north latitude, and 67 degrees 7 minutes east to 97 degrees 25 minutes east longitude. Okay. So if you include the southernmost point, then it is, if you include the southernmost point of the Andaman Nicobar Islands, that is your Great Nicobar Island, then it is 6 degrees 45 minutes north. Okay, so that is previously known as the Pygmalion point. Clear? Then coming to, so when we have discussed about latitude and longitudes, I have told you that latitudes help us to understand the climatic region. Longitudes individually help us to know the time zone of that region, and latitudes and longitudes combinedly help us to locate the place on the globe. Okay, so latitude help us to understand the time of that area. How? So Earth takes, so you know that Earth rotates from west to east, right? So the Earth rotates from west to east. So to cover one longitude, Earth take 4 minutes. So how many longitudes are there? 360, right? So 360 into 4 will get 24 hours time, right? So Earth take 4 minutes to cross one longitude. Why? Because to complete one rotation, Earth take 24 hours. So if you calculate this, to move one or to cross one longitude, Earth take 4 minutes of time. That means for every 15 degrees to cross 15 degrees longitude, Earth takes 1 hour of time, that is 60 minutes. Okay, so this is how you calculate the time based on 0 degree longitude, which passes through Greenwich, 0 degree longitude, that is the Greenwich, is taken as the standard meridian. Okay, we call it as Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. Okay, so the places which are located, so this is 0 degree longitude. So the places which are located towards the east are called as the eastern longitudes, and the places which are located towards the west of this Greenwich is 0 degree longitude is called western longitudes. Okay, since the sun rises in the east, so the eastern part of the world are ahead in the time. Okay, you know that this Japan is called the rising sun. Okay, It is the New Year. New Zealand is the first country which celebrate New Year. That means this part of the world is ahead in time when compared to the Greenwich. Okay, so the eastern part of the world, which is located towards the east of the 0 degree longitude, are ahead in time because first sun rises in this eastern part of the world, then it crosses the Greenwich, then it will enter the western part of the world. So that's why western part of the world is behind in time of Greenwich. Getting my point? So India is ahead of this Greenwich time and the western part of the world is behind of Greenwich time. Okay. So if you see the longitudinal extent of India, the easternmost longitude is around 68 degree, the westernmost longitude is 68 degrees and the easternmost longitude is 97 degrees. So almost there is 30 degree difference. Almost there is 30 degrees difference. So if you calculate the time for this, it is around 120 minutes. So there will be 120 minutes difference between Arunachal Pradesh and Gujarat, the easternmost place and the westernmost place. Okay, so to avoid this confusion, India took 82 degrees 5 minutes, 82 degree 5 minutes eastern longitude as Indian Standard Time. Okay, so to avoid confusion, India has taken 82.5 degree 5 minutes longitude as the Indian Standard Time. Okay, Indian Standard Meridian. Okay, so we calculate the time by considering 82.5 degrees 5 minutes as our standard time. That means if you calculate 82.5 degrees is your standard time, right? So what is the difference between 0 degree longitude and the 82.5 degree longitude? If you calculate 82.5 degrees into the 4 minutes, you will get 5.5 hours time. 5.5 hours time. Okay, so India is ahead of 5.5 hour times from Greenwich latitude. Okay, India is five and a half hours ahead of Greenwich latitude. So what we take as the 82 degrees 5 minutes as your Indian Standard Time, right? So this is your 0 degree Greenwich time. So how many hours India is ahead of Greenwich time? 5.5 hours. India is always ahead of 5.5 hours from Greenwich longitude. Okay. So if it is 12 noon in Greenwich GMT, then in time in India will be 5:30 p.m. If it is 1 noon in Greenwich, then the time will be 6:30 p.m. in India. India is the places which are located to the east of Greenwich are always ahead, and India is ahead of 5.5 hours of Greenwich. Okay, so we'll continue this topic in my next class. Thank you.